Welcome to the City Ramble then, on a victorious day for Manchester City, spicing up a Monday evening. I've got Joe Butters and I've got David Michael Powell. Let's get straight into it then, Joe. The big news, the news that 24 hours, even on this show, we did a segment saying it was a disgrace that Vinny Jr. was winning the Ballon d'Or and Rodri wasn't. Look, time goes fast, doesn't it? And it has been quite a 24 hours. Talk me through it, talk me through the feelings. I assume you're going to say it's deserved. If not, you'll be getting a quick boot out of there.
Well, I mean, Vinicius Junior did get a lot of goals and assists, didn't he? So I mean, I don't think you can really give it to. I think it's absolutely fully deserved, and I'm glad that it's been looked at, because I thought that obviously the fact that he got injured and wouldn't have this first half of the season to sort of catch the hype and get loads of journalists voting off the back of that. I don't know when the votes take place. Actually, I'm assuming it's around a month ago or so, something like that. But I'm quite glad that him being injured hasn't been enough to sort of preclude him from actually getting the votes that he does deserve. Because I think obviously when we saw it with Messi when he won the Ballon d'Or, that the international tournaments play a lot into this, and Rodri was so pivotal to Spain in the Euros in the way that, by all accounts, Vinny was just not at all there for the Copa, really. He wasn't actually in like the best form for Brazil, which, when you consider that for rightly or wrongly, when it comes to these kind of these awards, international tournaments and the Champions League are the two things that basically take precedent over everything else. And I think the Euros being something that Rodri was key to and ultimately won, on top of the Premier League as well, I'm sure, which is a big help, will have been what's done it for him. But yeah, the way that it's panned out has been quite mad. Like, obviously at first we were just like, well, Vinny's won, and then I think it was not last night, but the night before, so Sunday night, there was starting to be some kind of
tiny rumour, wasn't there? That nobody took seriously.
There were minuscule rumblings from some French journalists that Rodri might be about to win. And at the time it was like, yeah, so this is still like 99% Vinny then. And obviously throughout the day yesterday it sort of broke that Vinny wasn't going, and then it turned out that nobody from Madrid was going, as Fabrizio Romano sort of broke it. And then I think at that point you can sort of start to hedge your bets that might be because nobody from Madrid is going to win this thing. And then all the reports that then followed about Madrid shutting down their Ballon d'Or stream that they were going to have on Real Madrid TV.
Well,
and the idea
I'll jump in because I wanna we'll do the Rodri stuff obviously, but just a word, David, on Real Madrid with what for me is the most the biggest tantrum, the biggest spit in the dummy out that I've seen any major football club. And of course it's Real Madrid, because no other football club, I don't think, would behave like this. The entitlement that institution operates with is astonishing. But I mean, talk me through it. Pulling out all of their what would you call it, candidates for the award, not sending any delegates at all. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely tragic. And I think anyone who is associated with that football club should be, like I said, embarrassed.
It is embarrassing. It's been a terrible week in total, really, hasn't it? After the Barcelona result earlier in the week, it's almost like they've gone like, no, we're not going to turn up there and lose again. We're just not going to show up at all, which is, it's a very strange mentality for a team that's meant to be the biggest club in the world with the best players and everything that goes along with being a Madrid player and coach and fan and stuff. It's so poor. Like you said, I don't think any other team in the world would throw their toys out the pram this badly. And you're coming up against a team or Rodri, who plays for Manchester City, who we can argue that Haaland was equally as robbed like Vinny is last year, and we turned up, we sent players over there, we sent coaches over there, we turn up and
did the handshakes, said well done, acted like adults, you know what I mean? It's shocking.
It's terrible.
Absolutely shocking.
People always say Man City have no class and we're poor losers and this, that and the other, but truth is, like, if you take your bias glasses off for most clubs, you look at Man City and we do things the right way. We lose well, Pep's graceful, the players always speak really well about other people, and this is just terrible. And like, it speaks volumes, doesn't it? I don't think City fans tend to like Madrid at the moment after a few things that have happened. So it's just another one for us to dislike them for, really, I guess, and laugh at.
Yeah. I think that's the key one here. I think they'll be thinking they are sort of. Joe, I don't know if you've very quickly before we get onto the Rodri stuff got anything to add to there, because you're a man who famously doesn't hold a grudge and he's often.
No, I just think it's mad. I just think the idea that because I know that in Joe's segment yesterday that sort of that went out about sort of it feeling like a Real Madrid popularity contest, really. And to be honest, it kind of felt like if Vinny was going to win it, then that's all it would be. It would be like a bit of just he's Madrid's best player. Madrid won the Champions League, and normally that's enough. But I think that their reaction to this being the case, like not even knowing for a fact that Vinny hasn't won, because by all accounts, like I think I don't know whether this is true or not, but they said that nobody knows yet. I doubt that. I think that probably they do know. But you know, their response to this being to just not turn up at all shows that they feel like entitled to it. Like it's like
that's the word, entitlement.
We are Real Madrid. Our players win the Ballon d'Or. That is obviously when it wasn't when it's not been Ronaldo or Messi, it's been Modric and Benzema have been the two.
Who shouldn't have sniffed it, by the way. If we're gonna get bitter and if we're gonna get salty, Luka Modric. If you've got an issue with Rodri winning it, then dear me, I don't know what you were doing in 2018.
100%. But yeah, obviously, defensive mids don't get counted on goals and assists. That's silly.
And Rodri got more. Rodri managed to get more than Modric.
I just think Madrid are just they're just showing the kind of club that they are. They're a very bitter, despite being the biggest club in the world by I would argue some distance. They somehow still like have this sort of bitter, childish sort of mentality when it comes to this stuff. Like they just don't know how to not win, which I suppose is one of the one of the negatives that comes with winning quite a lot is that you don't know how to hack it when you don't. And I don't think this makes Vinicius. Most of the point, it doesn't make the club look great, but it doesn't make Vinicius Junior look very good either. Like I don't know why he couldn't go himself. Like why I think it shows a certain level of entitlement from him as a person as well that he's not turned up. So all in all, a very, very bad, as David said, a very bad few days for Real Madrid. All in all.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer club. Well, maybe Manchester United, but other than that, let's do Rodri then, because he deserves his flowers. And look, we on this podcast going back 18 months or so, we're saying he's the best player in the world, and people, outside of the City sphere, at some cases inside the City sphere, David, were saying, no, you're daft. He isn't. Haaland's scoring goals. He's doing this. Foden. Blah blah blah. I think first things first, City are blessed and they have loads of top talents, and pitting them against each other isn't what we're necessarily doing here. But for me anyway, it has been crystal clear for, like I said, the 18 months going back to sort of the turn of the year in 2023 when City went on that tear, won the treble. Rodri just brings something that no other player in world football can do. He, for starters, walks into every club in the world. There is not a club that doesn't have him. But moreover, he's a defensive midfielder, or at least that's what it says on the sort of the piece of paper saying his position. But he's so much more than that. He's a box-to-box midfielder. At times, he's the most important goal scorer. He's the most important defender. You can't put into words his influence. And to see him get this recognition, I think anyway, is just perfect.
Yeah, 100%. The journey he's been on since when he came to Man City, and I think most Man City fans thought we were never going to get better than Fernandinho, who was Mr. Defensive midfielder in the Premier League, best one ever after Makelele maybe or Vieira, and then Plodri came in and we were like, oh no, what's going on here? And you think that the journey from Plodri to Godri has been absolutely ridiculous. He's had
sounds
a
like
couple
a
of
Kendrick
seasons.
Lamar lyric or something.
Plodri to Godri.
Plodri to Godri.
It's been incredible, and like I love attacking football, and for a defensive midfielder on paper to be my favourite player at Man City right now is mental. But like you said, he's so much more than a defensive midfielder. If we could have three of them in midfield, I think it would be fine. He could play every single position in that three and be probably the best at it. Now Kevin De Bruyne is on the slide because he can score goals, he can create, he can break up the game. He's tall, he's strong, he's quick, he's handsome, he's got a good hairdo. Everything, he's got it all, and it's brilliant. And like, I just hope he stays. Like, I hope he comes back after his injury.
I can't imagine him wanting to go to Real Madrid after their actions today. Well, they couldn't even bother to turn up and shake his hand.
Well, yeah. So hopefully this will get a Pep extension and a Rodri extension, and he stays for a couple more years, because I would love to see him back at his best at City. And you obviously never know what's going to happen after a big injury, but it's so thoroughly deserved. And I think maybe if he stays for a couple more years, would most people start saying it's between Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne as the best midfielder in the Premier League history. If he gets a bit more time in the Prem, maybe. I mean, if he wins the Ballon d'Or, well, he's won the Ballon d'Or. It's an incredible achievement for him, isn't it? That one even Kev didn't get.
Yeah, I find it hilarious, Joe, that the Ballon d'Or winner doesn't even have an Instagram account. Which, you know, we can do all the cliches, and, you know, he bought his car or bought a Vauxhall Corsa off an old lady, and, you know, doesn't have social media, etc., etc. But it is testament, and to sort of cut through the cliches, it is testament to him as a person more than anything, because had it been Vinny Jr. and had Rodri been told it was Vinny Jr. winning it, he'd have been sat in that chair. I have absolutely no doubt. He'd been the first one clapping. He'd been the first one praising him, etc., etc. And that doesn't win you trophies, of course it doesn't. But he's a good person by all accounts. He's a fantastic footballer, and this recognition is. I feel like a proud dad. I've never met the guy. He doesn't know I exist, but I feel like a proud dad sat here having watched that transformation David's just touched upon.
Yeah, it's great. And I remember was it his first season or was it his second season? But I'm sure he was doing like a degree while he was here, wasn't he? I remember I remember a picture on social media of him someone had gone round to their mate's apartment and Rodri was living with them, and Rodri was just sat there doing his coursework basically whilst this guy's around, which must have been an absolutely surreal thing to have happen. But I just think, it's the fact that he doesn't have, as you say, any social media and is still I think that says even more about his ability, because I think a lot of the time when it comes to stuff like this, especially with it being voted for by journalists, is it coaches as well? Coaches and journalists get the votes on these.
Captains, maybe. I think the voting criteria is really confusing. It's probably worth.
Is it one vote for an international manager and one for, I don't know, I can't remember, but I think either way, like the fact that realistically it goes across like all the FIFA countries, doesn't it? And let's be honest, a good 90+% of them are not watching Rodri week in, week out. A lot of the time, it does just come down to who's got the biggest social media following. Like, who do I know? Who's famous? Like, which is why ultimately a lot of the time it's Madrid and Barcelona players who win this this award. But I think the fact that Rodri has won, it probably just it says that, look, none of these people are following Rodri on Instagram or Twitter. None of these people know who Rodri is because he's like, got 500 million followers on social media. They know
you
who
have
he
to
is
watch him, don't you? You have to see him with your eyes, yeah.
They might not see him every single week, but when they have watched him, whether it was just in the Euros or just in our Champions League games or just in our big Premier League games, it's easy to see that he is the most important player on the pitch in those games for whatever team it is that he's playing with. And I think that's that is ultimately what it comes down to. And I think I just think it's amazing, isn't it? It's just great. You just don't think that, because obviously and I'm going to keep going back to this, but it's the Madrid factor when it comes to this, the Madrid and Barcelona factor when it comes to this award, certainly over the last however long it's been since Ronaldo and Messi were on the scene. It's never felt. I think if Haaland not winning it last year, I thought that was it. Like, if Haaland didn't win it that last year, obviously with Messi having won the World Cup and stuff, it's kind of understandable. But I think with Haaland not winning it, I thought that was City's chance at getting a Ballon d'Or winner just like dead and buried. But the fact that it's managed to happen, and the fact that it isn't Erling Haaland, like the superstar striker, the fact that it is the fact that it is genuinely the best player in the team is just great. It makes me a little bit sad that Kevin De Bruyne has passed the point where he could have won one. I think if we had Kevin De Bruyne of 4 or 5 years ago, now it'd be Kevin De Bruyne's trophy all day long, wouldn't it? But I think there's no better second best than Rodri is there really when it comes to this.
It's absolutely perfect. And I mean, Rodri, Ballon d'Or winner, it's got a sound to it, hasn't it? Big day for City as well. I think, David, just very quickly before we go to the break, you can't underestimate the seismic nature of this for the football club, because having a Ballon d'Or winner at the club, it's his award and it's his trophy, but it's sort of partly down to what's happened with City. That's another sort of tick in the box, isn't it, of the last 10 years and Pep's era, and sort of, well, there's not much more that hasn't been achieved, really, has there?
Yeah, I think the club will be just as buzzing as Rodri and the fans about this, because, like you said, we've ticked off so many awards, trophies, like records that we've broken now. This is just another one for the club to say, well, we are just going through football and completing it. Like Kevin De Bruyne, back-to-back Player of the Years, Phil Foden, Pep with all his awards and the trophies. This is one that you can't really hide behind. Like Rodri has won the Ballon d'Or, the best player in the world, and he plays for Man City. Like that is, no one's taking that away from anyone. 115 charges, say whatever you want. Rodri's the best player in the world. That's simple. Like cry about it all you want, Man United, cry about it, Real Madrid, Arsenal. It's just fact, and the club will be absolutely loving it tonight and celebrating, no doubt.
That was the first part of the show. If you want more, make sure to check the City Ramble wherever you get your podcasts from.